Hi, I'm Elliot Daly, and I'm a former co writer and producer of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and I'm also a Presbyterian clergy person. And I cannot tell you how thrilled I am that the Presbyterian Church has seen fit to declare a Mr. Rogers Day as an annual reminder of what it means to be a human being. I first got to know Fred back in the late 60s when I found his program, which was then being broadcast in Pittsburgh, and thought that it was a work of genius and wanted to write an article for Presbyterian Life about Fred. So Patty and our kids and I went out and spent the weekend with Fred and Joanne and James and John. And Fred and I just kind of fell in love with each other. And shortly thereafter, he asked me to join him in the making of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. So for a number of years, I managed the company and co-wrote a number of the scripts with Fred. Many people have asked me, how do I think Fred would feel about the Mr. Rogers Day? One of the things that I learned in my time with Fred was never to speculate how Fred might feel or respond to anything, because he lived in a world that was beyond my comprehension, actually. I'm a reasonably bright guy, but every time I thought that I had pretty much fully comprehended what Fred was all about, he would come up with such an original and inspired insight about something that I've long since learned to say, I don't know what he would say or think about Mr. Rogers' Day. But I can tell you what he would say if someone approached him graciously and with great compliments, because on many, many occasions when I was with Fred, either on the streets or in a restaurant or in an airport or somewhere, people would inevitably approach Fred and compliment him and gush about how precious he was to their children and to their family. And Fred inevitably reacted exactly the same way. He said, "Oh, thank you for saying that." You see what he did there? He totally flipped it away from how wonderful I am to how wonderful you are for having given me that gift. That was the essence of Fred Rogers, always looking for a way to be a gift to those whom he was in the presence of. You know, I have often described Fred as a kind of a hybrid of a genius and a saint. Genius because at the time television was bursting onto the scene, everybody else in the world said, "Isn't this fabulous? I, one person, can now address millions and millions and they can see me doing my thing." And Fred stood that on his head and he said, "Gee, I wonder if this as an interactive medium could be not one to millions, but one to one." And over the years, I told the staff at Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, you need to think about Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood as an illustrated telephone conversation between Fred and one child at home. The saint part was my beloved wife, Patty, also a Presbyterian clergy person, once described to me, said a saint is someone through whom the light of God shines consistently. She's one such person, and I know that many of you who are watching are and are blessed to be in the companionship of others who are. But that was Fred. The light of God shone through him consistently, and so on this Mr. Rogers Day and every day of the year, I hope that we can reflect some of that ourselves. God bless you all.